packaging, pricing, and prepping. And I just want to start by welcoming you and thanking you for coming out for our day 2. And some of you, maybe you haven't seen day 1 yet. That's no problem. After you finish today, you can jump right over, grab that link, and pick up the recording from yesterday. And those of you who are back, welcome back. Glad to have you joining us again for day 2. Today is all about pricing. Now, I have a couple of housekeeping items just to make sure that you are getting the best benefit out of this. First and foremost, we know that you're here, you're doing this work, and you don't want to do it alone. So right above where you're seeing my picture right now, if you just look, there's a little share button under Facebook, and it says recommend or share. Please go grab that, share it, recommend it, tell your friends where you are and what you're doing, and invite them to join us live so they can get their questions answered too. Another thing that you want to look, if you go just below the video where you're seeing me now, is a segment for comments. Now, I want to encourage you to get your comments in as we go throughout the day. I am going to be monitoring those, and just like you're here to learn all about pricing, I'm learning this platform and getting better and better. And now I know exactly where your comments are going to come up, so I'll be answering those as you write them. So if you have any questions, post them there. And before we wrap up today, I will go back and look to see if I've answered all questions, and we will answer those before we finish. A couple other things that you want to keep in mind. First of all, just relax. Let this be your conversation. Remember, we're hanging out here, so let's interact, get connected, know each other, feel good about where we are and where we're going in this journey. And then finally, you want to think about just kind of interacting with those who are also on this call, because one of the things we want you to gain from this hangout environment is interacting with one another as well. And finally, before we get started, one little thing that I have for you, this kind of jumped out at me today. So I have with me today what's called a cinnabar stone. And this stone kind of jumped out and said that, hey, I want to serve the people, and my name's Crystal, appropriately, right? So I do collect crystals. And this stone said that it wanted to come and just join. So I just felt the energy of the stone speaking. And this stone represents wealth and prosperity, and this true wealth. Wealth from the place of all that is and all that you desire it to be. So welcome, and just know that you're in good hands, and we have some good energy coming at you today for the session on pricing. All right, so thank you so much, and let's just jump right in. Today we've got a lot to cover, so I want to jump right in and get to the content. So a couple of things that I want to just remind you before we do that. Yesterday, packaging. Go grab that recording if you have not heard it. Secondly, today we're talking about pricing, and here's the important piece. As we're talking, some things are going to come up for you. You're going to have questions. Perhaps you're thinking, well, Crystal, how do I really make this work for me? Or what if I don't know how? You're saying how to do this, but what if I need more help? Or what about my specific program? Because what I'm talking to you about today can work for most of you, and you could just go apply it on your own, but maybe you feel a little unsure or you need some support in that. So at the bottom of the video, there is a place where you can apply to speak with me. And if something happens throughout this, and we're of course going to answer your questions live, but if you know that, hey, I have this specific area and I'm really not sure what are the next steps for me, or how do I begin putting this all together, so click that button, apply, and let's get that conversation started so that I can support you in this journey. Okay, are you ready? So let's start with pricing. Now I'm going to talk to you about pricing from different perspectives. First of all, we're going to talk about from the perspective of in a presentation environment. So from a stage or from the front of a room, or from a standpoint of you have the center stage concept, even if it's a circle group, but you are the featured speaker in that situation. So for my speakers out there, pay attention, because this is going to help you. For those of you who are not yet speaking, also pay attention, because this is an opportunity where you're going to learn how you can increase your sales by simply doing those little talks. Now, some of you, that just brought up some fears. Don't worry about that. We're going to talk about mindset tomorrow, so make sure you join us back so we can talk about the fears and the mindset and all the stuff that comes up with that. But there is an opportunity, a powerful chance with speaking to make some money. Want to hear what those are? Okay, so from this stage, there are some general rules of thumb. And so we talked yesterday about packaging and how you package yourself. Now we want to talk about, well, what does that look like to the audience when you present it? How do we know, well, how much can I charge and how do I set that up? So from the stage, a general rule of thumb. I want to give you these because this is a critical piece of what you need to know. First of all, how much time do you have? So pay attention to, a lot of associations or different groups that you might speak for locally. You're going to have somewhere between 0 to 20 minutes probably. So it's not a lot of time. Maybe you're getting into a group that gives you maybe that 20 minutes to an hour. So that range is a little different. Moving over an hour into 90 minutes even gives you more opportunity, and over 90 minutes, let's say you have a mini workshop or you have a couple of hours to speak, that gives you a ton of possibility. So let's start with the 0 to 20 minutes. If you have only about 0 to 20 minutes, so we're talking about like a 1-minute commercial that you have the opportunity to give. At my upcoming event, we have a sponsorship spot where you can have 3 minutes just to share what you do in front of the group. That's a great example of what would be offered here. So when you're doing that, you don't want to try to sell something for money. You want to focus on the free. Now, as you get closer, and if you're a featured key speaker and you're getting closer to that 20 minutes, you might have something for free or something in that very low-end range of like up to $47. So let's say you're a featured speaker, you have 15 minutes and you have your book with you, you've written a book. Or you have a how-to guide or something that you do sell for an amount. You can offer that, but you want to do that from a place of $47 or below. Again, free is better when you have that short time frame, but depending on the group, you might make those adjustments. And that's where, if you're unsure, having that conversation with me could be helpful to you to get you started in that. So 0 to 20 minutes, $47 or less. Free is best when you have that short amount of time. Now, when we say free, keep in mind that free means you're giving them a resource, but they're giving you something in return. Just like in order for you to get here today to visit and have this conversation with me, one of the things that you did is you either gave us that handshake, or if you haven't done that, you're going to do that later perhaps to RSVP for the next one. Maybe you've liked our page, something to interact so that we can now say, oh, hi, we're glad to know that you are here and interested, and we can share with you anything that we have in the future that you may also be interested in based on your interest in this. So you want to, so often we call that lead collection when we're speaking from stage. So have a way that when you're giving that something for free, you're also getting their information in return, because if they're interested in, even for free, if they're interested in what you have, that means that at some level they're interested in your bigger work. So keep that in mind and get out there, do those talks, and get that free gift in their hands and grab that lead so that you can then help them in the future going to that next level. And we're here from a place of service, so you definitely want to be able to let them know, for their sake as well as yours, that you have something going on in the future and that they could take advantage of that. The next level is, let's say you have a longer talk and you have somewhere between the minutes of 21 to 60 minutes, and you can adjust this based on how much rapport you already have with the audience. If you've spoken for this audience 12 times, you might be able to go, move into this at the 20-minute level. If this is your first time with this audience, you want to keep to these numbers very closely. So the 21 to 60-minute time frame. So you've got to talk, you've got to set it up, you've set everything up. You have that time now to build your story. You have time to build up who you are and why you're qualified. Just like yesterday, we spent a little time. If you haven't seen it, go back again and review that. We spent a little time yesterday showing you why I'm here and why I'm qualified to be sharing this information. When you have 0 to 20 minutes, you get about a minute or two to do that and say, hey, I'm doing this because I've had success with this, and this is how I've helped other people. But when you have more closely to that 60-minute mark, you can actually take that moment and say, hey, this is what I've done. Here's what I've accomplished. The reason I'm here talking to you about this today is because I have done what you are being asked and shown how to do. So take that 20 to 60-minute time frame, build up your story, show them what's coming, Now you're able to offer, and remember, because you're packaged nice and tight, nice and neatly, you are able then to deliver this very concisely, this offer that you're making. So this offer is now going to be somewhere in the nature of $97 to maybe $497. So it could be, a simple home study that you've created. It could be a more intense home study, but it's something that you've created probably that's going to be leveraged, and we're going to talk about that at the event. So I'll be sharing with you on the last day how you can join us at the event if that's a fit for you. But you want to make sure that if you're offering in that $97 to $497 range, make sure it's at least to some degree leveraged, because that leverage is important when you're offering those lower ticket items. So how can you deliver it to an audience of a larger group of people? So 97 to 497, usually leveraged like a home study or some manual that you've created, something that creates and adds value but doesn't take a lot of your time. Now, what if you have more time? So let's say you have between 61 and 90 minutes. So now you have that full hour and a half. You can spend 15 minutes really showing your expertise and how powerful you are and how amazing and how wonderful and what you've done and how you've helped others, and you have plenty of time to build that story, to show them where you were, that vulnerability piece, and to lead them into where you are, which is showing your credibility, showing how and why they should be listening to you as the expert right now. So you have plenty of time to build that. Now you have also plenty of time for teaching. You have plenty of time to show them, here are some of the strategies. And the important part of all three of these levels that we've talked about so far is make sure that what you're teaching is applicable right now. Can they go out and apply it, even if they take that step forward with you, or if they don't? Are they able to go out and make a difference in their lives now? Because you are there to teach them first. And then if they come into your work, you can teach them at a deeper level. So now we are at that 90-minute mark. We have plenty of time for building the credibility and doing the teaching component and making an offer that shows them exactly what that package is, goes into detail. Now we can start looking at those higher ranges. In fact, you can go, a lot of times you'll go from maybe a $997 range up to a $1997 in that 90 minutes. Now, we're assuming by all these that you've seen this audience just this time. So if you've never seen this audience before, but you have 90 minutes, now you have the opportunity to sell up to a $2,000 program right there in that 90 minutes. Why? Because you can show them the difference that it can make for them, and you have that time to build that for them and show them and really help them with their belief, because they're going from who are you to what? You want my $2,000. Keep in mind that you want to connect with them in that deeper way before you try to make an offer like that. So if you had 20 minutes and you tried to make a $2,000 offer, they really don't know who you are. And as you know, I'm going to tell you something that you hear over and over: people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So this 90 minutes gives them a chance to fall in love with you, gives them a chance to like you, to trust you, to feel like you are the one who can take them to that next level. And then the program delivers that need that they have. And then if you have more than 90 minutes, now you can start looking at something bigger, so something over. Now you can kind of what we call go for gold. So go for it, set that pricing wherever it needs to be. Now you can get more into your one-on-one. You can definitely, at the $2,000 level, you still may want to keep that in very limited one-on-one time and some group sessions. Now we have over 90 minutes, and we may have some bigger things that we want to sell. Maybe we just really rock at that one-on-one time, and that's how our customers get the best results out of our work. So now you have that time. Over 90 minutes, you have time to build that rapport, time to take their questions perhaps even, or interact, or demonstrate yourself as a leader in front of them by doing a kind of case study, or calling someone up and helping them through the problem that you're demonstrating and the problem that you as a leader help them with on a regular basis. So over that 90 minutes, now you can really go for gold and offer the program that makes the most sense. Now, how do you know what program that is? We talked about packaging yesterday and how you package it, but how do you know what price to charge for each of these? And that's where it gets into, yes, this is what you do on stage, but well, what do I do? How do I know what to offer for free or for, this $497 level? What do I offer at the $2,000 level? What about at a $10,000 level? And you want to keep this in mind, that all you're doing is growing the amount of access they have to you. So at the free level, this is a report that you've already written, or it's a video series that you've already created, something that you've done that adds value to them, gives them something they can literally say changes something for them right now, but also leads them to, if this is an area that they have for growth, you could take them further should they invest at your higher level ticket items. So when you're looking at a $497, it should definitely be leveraged. That means it doesn't require a lot of your time, if any at all. I would recommend at $497 that it doesn't take really any of your time anymore. Now, in the beginning, did it take your time? Yes, you had to build it. But now it is a packaged program. It's a home study. It's something that they can do the worksheets on their own. Maybe even it's something where they have some kind of access to you. Maybe it's through an email that they get, or a one-time call that they can get to get them launched into the program. But you want to keep your touch with them at the $497 level very, very little, because you just can't make a lot of money if your time is all taken up by $497 program. So keep that in mind, that again, we're building your lifestyle. And what do you want to accomplish out of all this work? Are you trying to accomplish, just getting yourself out there, or are you really trying to build a sustainable business model that you can continue to grow and continue to support and continue to give to the masses? Or are you trying to build a small boutique style business in which you have very few clients and a higher margin? So if you're looking for, hey, I want to serve millions of people, this leveraged model is really good because it allows you to do that. But let's say you want to get some hands-on. Maybe your best work happens when you get a little bit of hands-on. Well, now we look for that $2,000 range, and you can do a little bit of touching at that level. Now, you don't want to set them up with 12 weekly phone calls with you, so that's a lot of your time, because remember, for every hour you're on the phone, you're probably spending an hour to 2 hours prepping to make sure that you're delivering well for that client. So hourly, it wouldn't be a lot if you allow them to have 12 private phone calls with you for $2,000. So again, $2,000, we're still looking at some kind of a leveraged model, but maybe they get a couple of special phone calls with you. Maybe it's once a month over the course of the 12 weeks that you're doing the group sessions. So the group comes in, and the group as a whole is getting served these lessons, and then you do the one-on-one call. So you want to think about those kinds of models as you're preparing your pricing structure. Now, if you have the time to build up to this, and we're going to talk about the one-on-one call in just a moment, or the one-on-one conversation, and if you have that time, you build up, you have more than the 90 minutes, or you have face-to-face interaction, which we're going to talk about next, now you can go for gold. Now you can say, okay, here's what they really need. Maybe it's to really get the effects of your work, they need hand-holding, they need that one-on-one time with you, or maybe you just know that some people do. So you can create a portion of your business that focuses on that one-on-one hand-holding, and then you can set your prices based on what would it take. Now, there are a few things that you want to consider about how you set that pricing, and we're going to talk about that right after the one-on-one. So that's about knowing your own input before you set a price. We don't just arbitrarily pick, okay, I think that feels like $5,000 or that feels like $10,000. We actually have a reason for the numbers that we use. Now, one-on-one selling is very similar to the from-stage selling, but there are a couple of nuances that I want to make sure are clear to you. So when you're in the one-on-one situation, if you know you just have a few minutes to connect with someone, you again want to keep it at that low offer amount. But really what you're going to do best in a one-on-one is to find a time that you can have some extra time, like a good hour, either face-to-face or on the phone. And one-on-one, you don't need 90 minutes or more to make this happen, usually because you have that interaction, and you can specifically focus on asking them the questions, how can I help you? How can I support you? How can I serve you? So now 60 minutes is plenty to do sometimes, and I've done calls that were 4 and 5 figure calls based on an hour of time. And a couple of calls that I did that I sold clients on were literally 2 calls, because we had 20 minutes this day. We realized there's a need for more, but the timing didn't work that day, so we set up a second phone call. So sometimes it might be an introductory just to see if it makes sense for us to work together, and then that second call where you go through the details of their needs, and then you develop a package for them. Now, when it's one-on-one, here's the cool part. You can make it up right on the spot. Now, do I recommend having no idea and you go in and you make up something? I've seen it done, but you do it based on your own knowledge and what you know you can deliver. But here's my recommendation for setting up your pricing so that you know, number one, that they're getting full value for what you're delivering, and that you're not overworking yourself for the amount that you quote. A lot of us get into those one-on-one sales conversations. Yep, and we do it. It's okay, I'll work with you for this amount, and we give this really low amount and this amazing, powerful delivery. But when we get off the phone, we realize we just sold ourselves. And we really couldn't, on a sustainable way, build our lifestyle that we desire doing it that way. So here's what I recommend. Now, this one is one of those pieces that you, again, want to write it down, just like you probably did with the timing from stage. You want to have a menu. So what are some of the things that you can offer? Start keeping a menu. You may add to it or take away from it later on. You might find services that either aren't as effective or you just don't like delivering that part and you take them off. Or you might find later that, oh, I keep doing this over and over. Every client I get, I end up having to do this piece. So you want to add it to the menu. And you want to take the time to look at exactly what would be the investment that they need to make to get that particular service. So you have in your mind this menu of items, and these are the items that you're going to offer. Each of them have their price at that level. Now, when you present it to your client or potential client, you in your mind, as they're talking, you keep in mind, well, maybe they're going to need this and they're going to need that. So because you know your own menu, you're reaching up in your mind and you're grabbing and thinking about what it is that they can use. Now, because you're doing that and because you are creating that list as you go, when you go to make that offer, if you know they needed 10 items out of 12 on your menu, and you can estimate in your mind because you have those numbers written down and you memorize those, okay, that would be $6,400 worth of services that they need. Now you can go in, you're not going to offer that for $2,000 because that's too much work for you for that little bit of money. However, you can give them a discount and you can feel good about it knowing that you are giving them this. And there are 2 ways to present this. You can just tell them the investment that it takes to work with you at this level and show them all the things that they're going to get, right? Because you have to tell them what they're getting for that. Or you can actually have a menu. I've actually seen people who do this. I don't do this personally, but you can have an actual menu of your services, and based on what you feel like they need, you put them off, show them what they need, show them the total that would be, and then give them some discount because they're buying it as a package. So these are some of the things that you can think about when you are preparing and setting up your pricing structure so that when you get into that one-on-one sales conversation, you don't get stuck with the and you walk away either having cheated them and now you have to build up some more stuff to give them that they really didn't need, and more importantly, you didn't cheat yourself and give them a price that really doesn't serve you and the long longevity of your business because you have way too much work to do for the amount you've quoted. So it's really about empowering so that everyone wins. And we talked about in the ads about the win-win. In my life and in my world and in my business and even in personal life, if it's not a win-win-win for everybody, I'm not interested because it is important to me. It's a very selfish reason. Don't worry, I'm not that noble. It's selfish because I need to know. The person inside of here needs to know that everything I've offered and delivered helped someone. So they need to win for me to feel good about the win. And that's just the way it works for me. So when you look into a situation that's win-win-win, Number one, you get to sleep better at night and you feel good about yourself. Number two, they feel the energy of that and they know, hey, this person's really trying to help me out and their services are valuable. They feel the value of what you've offered. And then also they share that with the next one, so it comes back around to win for you again. And here's the more important piece. Now the people that they're in the world to help also get helped because they were helped by you. So everybody wins all the way around. So that's what you want to think about every time you're creating this as a win-win-win. Now let's talk about your costs. And when we're talking about the cost to you, when you're setting pricing, it's really important to think about costs in terms of, well, how much time is it going to take me to complete this? What does it take? What's it going to look like? What does what do the hours mean? How much difficulty level is it? Because some things are harder than others for us to do. How much am I going to need? Sometimes we need to bring in actual materials to create something. Think about the cost of those. What team members am I going to need to bring into this situation to make sure that everything goes well? Often we don't do a lot of this on our own, so you want to make sure you have the team, the buildup of others who are supporting. Well, how much is your team going to be involved in this process? Because you have to pay them as well. And so what is it really going to take to deliver all that you have offered? You've got to have that into account. So in addition to all those pieces it takes, what does it need to be for you to feel like you've delivered something of value and you've gotten paid what you're worth for doing that? Those are the pieces you want to think about when you are preparing your pricing. And finally, I want to talk to you a little bit about the connecting to your confidence meter. Now, some of you are watching and you know, hey, I need this. I don't know where to start, Crystal. Click below, apply to have a conversation with me. We're going to look at your readiness to do that, and we're going to definitely respond to you either way. And many of you will be accepted and fit right into my calendar. I have some spaces specifically for those of you who are watching. And we're going to create that time for you to have this conversation to help you know what are the next steps for you and how do you put all this together. But some of you aren't really sure yet, and that's okay. So you're going to click where it says to RSVP for tomorrow, part 3, because one of the things we're going to do is this connecting with your confidence meter. That part we're going to be talking about tomorrow. And that's all about, well, what do you feel about what's going on? So are you really ready? Some people want to go in and they want to offer the world, but they're not quite ready in the pricing to say that number. When it says the investment for that is that amount, that number that they really should be saying based on the value of what they're contributing, they're just not ready to say that. So you've got to be aware of where that is for you and what feels right. So sometimes it's as simple as practicing it, saying it out loud, having a friend on the phone with you, going through the motions of the call, right? So you actually go through this with them as if they're the potential customer and say that the investment for that is. And wherever it gets kind of stuck right here that you feel like, oh, that's a lot. When your mind goes, that's a lot, guess what? So does your client. So does your potential client. So we're going to talk tomorrow about the mindset and putting all this together and how do you use the packaging and the pricing and getting connected to your ability to invite in and feel comfortable with the pricing structure that makes the most sense for what you are offering. And how do you, in the beginning, when you're not comfortably there, offer a little less of yourself for that other number until you can build up to a number that it makes sense. And what does it take for you in practice, perhaps delivering a couple of those programs at that higher investment from you, the giving part, you're giving, for the lower amount sometimes. We have to do that a couple of times to go, oh, what I'm doing is way too valuable for this. So think about that as you're moving forward to tomorrow. Some of you are just ready. You know it's time. Crystal, I need help. I need support. I don't know what the next steps are for me. I don't know what this leveraging thing is that you're talking about, or maybe it's just because as you're listening you realize that, hey, I've got something so valuable to offer and I don't know where to begin to make sure that it's getting in the hands of the people who need it. I want to solve these problems for people. I want to save them in this way. I want to help and support them with my bliss with something that I love to do. So just click below, apply to speak with me. We're going to have that conversation. We're going to get you started to where you're wanting to go, put together a real plan of action for you, and get you ready to take these steps, make the big money, do what you love, and feel good that everything you've done is a win-win-win. So I'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you haven't already, click below to RSVP for day 3. You might have to refresh your screen to get that button to come up. So you'll want to refresh the screen, click to RSVP for tomorrow, and I'll see you back here, same time, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, all about the mindset and putting all this together for the piece that matters right here. See you tomorrow, and have a great week.